What's up, guys? So I'm testing out Slappy Trucks for the first time today. It's the first cold day and the first windy day of the fall, I guess you would say. So we've got a base plate similar to Indy. It kind of sticks out farther here. This part right through here looks a little bit like Ace, and then this looks a lot like Indy up on top. Also similar to Ace, a little bit lighter than Indy's. We've got a kingpin that's similar to Crux. Hopefully they don't turn anything like Crux. So we've got the inverted kingpin, kind of light like Thunder's. Some nice cutaways like you'd see on a Thunder truck. I don't know if that kingpin is going to slip around in there or if it actually is fitted to it. Some trucks that have inverted kingpins don't work very well and they kind of slide around and you can never tighten them. But like the new Indies with the inverted kingpin tend to work really well. It looks like it's well made. I wish they kind of did what Ace did and kind of took this out a little bit so you don't need those washers, but overall it feels like a well-made truck. So let's set them up and skate them. They feel like they're going to be much tighter than Indies or Ace when you first get them. It's slightly cold out here, but I can't turn it with my hand at all, so it does seem like it's slightly tighter for sure. Some trucks come super loose when you first get them. These are an 875. I probably should have got a 9. I think that's the biggest they make is 9. I'm gonna be putting them on a board that's bigger than 875 for sure. All right, so there's the Slappy truck, and then this is the Indy mid, but I've got the standard Indy hanger on this truck. So it's got a forged base plate, but the standard taller hanger. They are very similar. I think the Slappys might be slightly taller, but not much. The kingpin clearance is actually very similar. There's a little more kingpin clearance and a little more height on the Slappys, but not much. The weight is very similar. I actually cannot tell which one is lighter just by holding them in my hands. So I did change out the bushings, but that doesn't mean that the bushings that came in these trucks were bad. They were actually really good. They were better than the stock bushings I've had in any truck lately. They were definitely better than the stock Indy bushings at first because they didn't feel loose. They felt actually pretty tight. It was actually a pretty solid truck. Good turning, good sharp turning, kind of like Ace. So there's a few different things you have to think about when you're rating trucks. First off is the way they turn and the way they feel under your feet. That is going to be the most important thing, because if they just don't feel comfortable, you feel uncomfortable on them, you're not going to be able to skate them, you know, you're not going to enjoy them, you're not going to be able to land tricks on them. They have to actually feel comfortable. And how they turn is really important, because when you land a trick, if you land a little off, you want to be able to kind of turn out of it a little bit. So you want, when you land on it, you want it to be able to turn. So some trucks lean a lot and they don't turn. Some trucks turn a lot and they don't lean. I think these turn a lot more than they lean. They're very carvy and turny. I don't know if they shorten the wheelbase more than Indies or less than Indies, but they feel really similar to Indies and similar to Ace. They are light. That's something that kind of reminds me of Thunder. I like the way they're skating the mini ramp so far. They kind of do remind me of Thunders in the mini ramp, which is definitely a really good thing. But they're really tall. So these are the super hard Indy bushings. I don't think that Indy bushings really fit these trucks quite right, but that's what I had available, so that's what I stuck in there. Being a bigger guy, over 200 pounds, I think the harder bushings work better for me. They still feel really turny. So when you get new trucks, you have to get used to them when you're doing your flip tricks. These are a little taller than the trucks that I had on there, and they're a little lighter, so I have to get used to that when I'm doing kick flips and stuff. But that's kind of the next thing you want to look for in a truck, is a truck that you can land kick flips and everything. You know, Thunders make flip tricks easier, but Indies and Ace usually make tricks look better. Also, Indy and Ace trucks kind of grind through stuff a little easier. Ace are a little softer, so they grind away a little quicker. These are grinding really well through everything, so I think they might be a softer metal and maybe they won't last as long, but I could be wrong. They definitely have a good grind to them though. I think I should work on some Slappies, work on some grinds and some grinds in the mini ramp, just kind of see how they feel. But overall, so far, they grind really smooth. I like the way they feel. I've just barely been on them so far, but they do feel really nice. So yeah, the way a truck grinds is pretty important. I think the way it feels in general when you're riding it and the way it turns is more important, but the way it grinds is definitely important too. You don't want a truck that gets hung up on things. You don't want a truck that isn't strong enough to handle grinding. You don't want a truck with a kingpin that sticks up so much that you can't do Smiths and Feebles. You don't want a truck with a really soft hanger that wears away really quick. But you don't want a truck with a really hard hanger that just won't grind through anything. So it has to be a balance of all those things. I think the least important thing about a truck is how it looks, but I think they look pretty good. They do feel lighter than the Indies. For some reason, my board definitely pops lighter, and it feels lighter than it used to. So I really am liking that. So there was really no break-in time with these. There was no getting used to them. I felt really comfortable with these as soon as I stepped on the board. Now, that could be because they're basically exactly like the trucks that I had on the skateboard. Those Indy 159, same size, about the same height, same turning radius. You know, it feels just like those Indies. But I think it is grinding a little smoother. I am a little bit afraid that maybe it's like Ace. It's a softer truck because I've just been skating for less than an hour, grinding a few times, and I have worn through some of the truck. It's kind of flat right there. So maybe it's grinding good because it is such a soft metal, and maybe I'll grind through it really quick. Not really sure on that yet. So don't take offense to this, Slappy or Mike or anybody, but they kind of remind me of Destructos. Have you ever skated Destructos? It kind of feels just like that truck. That truck had such a ridiculous name, but Slappy is kind of a silly name too. I like the name Slappy though. Destructo, I don't know. But if you want to buy these and you're afraid to buy them because you're afraid you'll like them and you'll get used to them and then they'll go out of business, I wouldn't be afraid of that because they're basically Indies. They really do feel almost just like Indies. My board feels almost indistinguishable today than it did yesterday. So yeah, basically all you have to do is buy the forged hollow Indy mids, then buy a regular standard hollow, take the standard hanger, put it on the Indy mids, and you've got this truck. It's the exact same thing. I feel like having taller trucks makes the lateral concave feel even flatter on this flat board. It just feels like I'm standing on a 2x4, but I feel like it makes the kicks higher because it does, you know, when you have higher trucks, it makes the kicks feel higher. So a little bit of a delayed pop, but more pop. I do feel like I have more pop on this board with these trucks because they are a little bit taller. But yeah, I mean, it's really comfortable. The balance is really good, feels good, feels fun to ride. They're definitely a fun truck. Thunders work the best for technical tricks, but they're just not as fun. Indies are fun. Ace are fun. These might be the most fun of any truck I've skated. They're very turny, very responsive, but yet still stable. I think these might be the tallest trucks I've ever skated, but they're probably actually my favorite trucks I've ever skated. This whole setup just feels really good. I love this board. The painting that was done for me on the bottom is spectacular. And everything about this board is just perfect right now. I'm really enjoying the setup. So yeah, that's the Slappy Trucks. I enjoy them. I think you will too. I would probably get harder bushings, especially if you're over 200 pounds like me. But it's a really solid, responsive truck. And I've definitely enjoyed skating them. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like this kind of content, scroll through my channel, check out my other videos, and hit the subscribe button because I got a lot more videos to come. Thanks for watching.